So, good evening, there we are. I can't believe it. Yes, I can believe it. So we have done this whole journey. When I watched the video tonight, honestly, I would never have imagined in my wildest dream at the beginning that it gets to this. Not only the visuals, but how Tejas was asking me if how I have arranged the overlapping of the soloists. I say I just didn't. I didn't have to move anything. It just fell together. Like it. An amazing moment when you compose. You look, you this, to that, and one day it just clicks suddenly. It clicks, and here during the editing with Gao Yang, those of course we had made it that the sequence follow each other and that it overlaps, but still it could have been that we had to cut or move, all the things you can do in audio editing. Well, we didn't. It's amazing. As if you were, I can't believe this. It's as if you were Kailin was dialoguing with Roberto, although you made your recording separate, so you didn't hear. So that means you are amazing listeners, because you can engage in a dialogue, and then is also with the flute. You engage in a dialogue without even having the other person physically there present, and you could hear. So let's start in order. Sabrina.
Yeah, what? You know that it's dangerous to give me the first word, because then I stay there for 1 or 2 hours.
No, I'll stop you.
Yeah. What shall I say?
I have
okay.
no questions. You just go.
Question.
I'm speechless.
I like the tonight video. It was different from the others. It was a sum up of a few elements that I could recognize. So I would say it's the percentage's signature. I found it very enjoyable, very pleasant, very enjoyable, and I recognized the MIDI file track that Robert sent to us at the very beginning in August.
Yes.
And I could appreciate how can I say it? How much nicer it is with all these layers overlapping. How complete and full and whole sounded tonight. Not that the MIDI file was not nice, but it's on a richer level. So I really enjoyed the overall work, both from the video, from the filmmakers and all the composers and the musicians and the improvisators. Doesn't exist. I'm quite really impressed by what has become of this project that started in a way and is kind of walked on his own feet for me. He developed organically as an entity that has received a piece of everyone and has become another entity, another thing at the end. It's very, very, very impressive, very new for me. And I'm really happy to have been sharing this with you. And I hope that one day we will manage to meet, redo it live, and maybe continue to let it grow and maybe go even further, because live and digital together could be a very interesting platform.
Thank you. Who came after you? Was it Dennis or Bertrand?
Soufri and then
Bertrand. Hello, Bertrand.
Hello. Hi. What do I have to say? No, I enjoyed watching it's nice to hear the entire piece happen at one go. I think the coolest thing about it is how organic everything felt musically. Kind of nice that the virtual orchestral part basically formed the thread that held a bunch of kind of stylistically varied musical sections together, and it didn't feel arbitrary at the slightest. In fact, it was quite organic. Like I quite liked how my bit came out of the end of the voice from the previous section, and how mine kind of tailed so neatly into the percussion and the percussion solo. That all came together. Like it's quite cool because all of that happened without any pre-planning. Yeah, that worked neatly for me. Yeah, and also the video was fun to watch. Like it's colorful, and I feel in some way creates a different trajectory for how we can listen to the music. Yeah, so that all worked very nicely for me. Thank you for writing this and asking me to play.
It's something I've experienced before, but we can talk about that later. How different images on the same sound, on the same soundtrack can to me make the music express something else. Dennis, hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Apologize for this quite dark lights going on here. In the midst of actually teaching my students, so I give them some break and quickly come and join you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what, the whole video with the whole video, everything is just spectacular. It's beyond I'm speechless too, because it's so fun to watch. Everything is just it just works well. It's just fantastic. I love it so much. I like the part that there's this that there's a little bit of collaboration with the piano and the flute. It's just amazing. And yeah, and thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this project. And I learned a lot, and and thank you so much, guys.
Don Roberto, please.
Hola. I think actually I wrote something. I wrote a few words, and all of you already talk about these things that I wrote. It's very interesting. I think most of us, we have a similar opinion. I was amazed by how organic it worked, and actually even before watching the full piece, I was thinking, I didn't know really what to expect, right? I didn't know if it would be the same images. I mean, you mentioned before it wouldn't, but I didn't know how different it would be. And I was thinking at some point, it's gonna feel like, this TV series that you watch, you are a big fan, and then at the end they made a movie out of it, and the movie is really terrible, right? It happens all the time, right? It's like, okay, it's gonna be the last one, and then you go to the theater, you watch it, and you're like, oh no, they spoil it. But I thought it improved so much. I mean, it was really fun to watch every episode. But the last one, maybe because of the every week listening to how it was evolving, it was epic. And the ending was fantastic. How the transitions were working into each other. I still don't totally believe it was not edited. It was fantastic. I mean, it really sounds like there is a very hard work there. But it's great. I mean, I really enjoyed, especially this last one. I think it makes much more sense when you watch the full video and you listen to all the pieces combined. Well done, everybody. Fantastic.
Thank you. Verena, the choice of the two poems and how that came, what's your impression?
Thank you for being part of this.
Welcome.
And thank you for everyone's contribution, because as John Shapley has said, it's somehow everything gels into, everybody's contribution gels into something, into a different beat, into a different entity altogether. And this entity has grown week from week. And now it's a beautiful symphony of color or sound of text.
Do you think we were just lucky and it's a gamble and it could have turned awfully wrong, or no, because you are all very fine musicians and you can listen to each other, and then I don't know I don't know what you think, Kailin. We were just damn lucky, or no?
Well, I mean, yeah, there could have been, something gone terribly, but I think because there's so many people trying to work in their own way together, even though we're very disparate, I think that has helped a lot. Yeah. So I don't know whether I think you were very upset last week when I said, oh, it's an experiment, but it is
No.
in that sense, experiment of, I mean, I know what you were doing, and yes, you knew what you were doing, but experiment is still, in the sense, was, could all this come together? I think that was the experiment.
True. Roberto?
Yes, I don't think it could have been a disaster. I mean, I wasn't sure about how it would work out, but if I was sure of something, was that the result would be good because of the people involved. I mean, I didn't know all of you, but I mean, I knew Sabrina, I knew Robert, I heard Kailin before, so I knew the result would be something to be proud of. I had no idea. It's when sometimes you accept to be part of a project without knowing anything about it, and you accept because of the people involved, right? So I think that's a warranty, and I don't think it would have been a disaster. I mean, I'm pretty sure about it, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think? And Robert, I'm sure you had some idea from the very beginning.
Yes, but you also know that you can have four virtuosos. You put them together. It doesn't mean you have a fantastic string quartet, or in an orchestra, or a football team. It must still gel, and the chemistry must work. And so there, I had no anxiety at all about our respective individual qualities, but still that it would gel like this so organically, that goes beyond. I'm so happy. Thank you. Kailin, I don't see you on the screen anymore.
Maybe he got cut off.
He got cut off. Okay, we'll come back to Kailin as soon as he reappears. John or Lons, hi, it's so good to see you. I told you, both of you, you are part of the...
By the way, next week we organize a chat without the music, because now we get used to it. So what we do next Thursday? That's my question.
A big congratulations to everybody.
Thank you.
I think it was very inspiring collaboration for something, as Verena was saying, which had that element of experiment, but I think it was, I would not have dedicated every Thursday evening of my life for the past 2 months if I had any doubt that this would not be a worthwhile experience. I'm taken by this last episode, and I'd like to talk particularly about the filmic aspect of it and what Deepesh and Tejas did. Were really quite remarkable. I feel like we're all a part of the Fibonacci series now. We're all ensconced in this world within a 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 world, which is what fractals are as well. And so you give this sense that it's not, yes, we suffer, we have joys, we have pains, we have all the experiences of the gamut of emotions, but in the end, it's a world within a world within a world within a world, and all these characters, i.e. the musicians, are simply ensconced in this world within a world within a world, that there's something bigger. And it's interesting how I felt in your other episodes filmically. It's as if something's trying to break through, something is trying to express itself, but it only really realizes itself filmically, I think, in this episode. But I could sense the seeds of what it is trying to do. And so as a film, I think it is quite significant in the experience of the episodes and for the time lapse of the episodes. I don't think I could take it watching this as a whole. By take it, I mean, I need the space in between. Maybe not a week, maybe a day, maybe a few days. A month might be too much. But to experience it one scene right after the other without a break, I think would be probably too much information to process. And there's no time for the subconscious to kind of play with those ideas and then recognize them when they happen again. So I think it made for this last episode to be a more powerful experience then. And the feeling of higher forces, if you wish, or higher elements for which we are a very, very small part, but to each of us, it seems like a very big part, but cosmically, no, we are a world within a world within a world. So that was a very wonderful experience. So I want to thank you all, and for the musicians and dancer and for Verena with her text. I thought it was a remarkable experience. I'm very glad I did it. So thank you. Thank you.
And thank you, John, because your sensitivity, intelligence, and articulation is we really gain from it. Kayong, you're back. Hi, can you? No, can't hear you.
Sorry, I was having trouble with my internet.
Yeah, that's
just decided to quit. What did I miss?
Lots has happened, but it's recorded, and you can always watch later. The chats, they are also uploaded on the website. So just what is your? No, I have no question. Just express yourself.
It was stunning. The grand finale of this was stunning, and I'm quite speechless by how everything just came together. I mean, I guess in a way I wasn't really surprised, because I'm really much of the belief that when people are really given the platform to express themselves, beautiful things happen. So, which is something I think, the platform that Robert, that you created, this platform for all of us to kind of have a space to be us and to respond to the music. So it is, the end product is it's stunning, it's beautiful, and it is refreshing, but it is not surprising. Okay. I just didn't know exactly how, what it would actually sound like or look like, but in a sense, you have some really good people on board. So
yes.
So thank you again for having me on this wonderful journey. Yeah.
Welcome. Lance, hi.
Hi, folks. Forgive me for being late, but I was having a late dinner. And so in fact, I haven't watched the finale, although I've seen some of it here. But I would like to say that I agree with John, and that I think what you managed to do, you all, with the format was fantastic. I mean, the spacing between the viewings was just part of the piece, and I just love that dimension of it. It would be so different to try to digest this all at once. It would, it would take away so much of its meaning, which is derived from this context, this COVID, this spacing, this isolation of events, isolation of people. It all works together so perfectly, and it's just part of the meaning, the very meaning of the piece. And I think that's fantastic. I've always appreciated pieces that do things over time, or that you come back to. I mean, there's a whole series of pieces and musicians that I could refer to. One of my favorites is Jason Freeman, who has people join in and contribute in various ways, and then the piece will be manifest in another space, in another place for a different audience at another time. I mean, I just love that stuff. I can't get enough of it. And I think that what you've done with this format is really beautiful. And that's, separate from the input that each individual artist put into it, which I have also thoroughly enjoyed. So I don't know what else to say. This is the time at the very end just to say thank you for a wonderful experience. I wish, okay, so here's something I might say. One thing about this format is, it struggles to reach a broader audience, doesn't it? I mean, it deserves a broader audience. And I wonder if there's a way or where it can go from here, where this piece can live on to be experienced by more people. And even this discussion has been part of the experience of the piece that I suppose would be not part of a secondary audience experience of it. But it certainly deserves to be viewed and shared because, and I think there's a way in as a post real-time thing where people didn't participate in a kind of weekly, or in my case, semi-weekly experience of the piece, that they can still understand it through whatever lens they're looking at it from, afterwards. And I hope that it reaches that audience. So yeah, it deserves to.
Thank you, Lance. I turn now to my friend, teachers.
Thanks. Thanks for everybody else's comments, and of course, thanks to everybody who participated. It's been a great pleasure. Thanks to Robert, thanks to Deepesh, thanks to the NEC. I think we all agree that it should have a wider audience, and the cool thing about it, like, we haven't been too stressed about that aspect because we have all the time in the world now. That's of course we shouldn't let it go. Having too much time means we could forget about it, but all of us, Robert and I, are already discussing how we can try to get it out there. Part of the specific format of this grant and the funding is to do it online and to only do it online. After that, as things open up more, I think it will also organically grow in the same way that the world is organically getting back to normal. So we hope, we haven't explored those options yet, but we all know each other now. We're all open to any possible ways of figuring out how to do it. The weekly format, it kind of meant that all of us were focused on getting it done in time, in a way. There was that time pressure, which was exciting and it made it fun, but that kind of dominated our mindset, is like, how can we do it to the best of our ability, sticking with this time frame so that it finishes on time. And so the next stage, I think, of course, I agree, is to find other ways and to see if it works in other ways, because it was definitely designed to be not all watched at the same time. I think that we all have to agree. Whether, like, even as a live screening, if there were specific live moments in between, that could provide enough of a break, or some of the films could be in the background as something was happening at the same time. There's a lot of ways to do it so that people don't have that overwhelmed feeling, because like John said, he enjoyed the week by week, and I think that was a very good idea by Robert. You wouldn't want all of it to just be released at the same time. And so I think that's one of the things I found most exciting, was the idea of serializing a live performance and what you can do with that. Now we need to explore what other cool things we can do with the same information. So,
well, a thought occurs to me that the format is not unlike these series that we see on Netflix and everything nowadays. So, if you might just give people the flexibility. It's obviously in episodes.
Yeah.
And so people could watch it at their leisure, over one night at a time or 1 week at a time, or they could binge watch if that's what turns them on, and that kind of is in the hands of the audience in the case of these you know, these series, which can be anywhere from 6 to 60, right?
Yeah.
But we're all comfortable with that. We're familiar with that now.
Yeah, and I mean, with Netflix being so predominant, it was quite interesting to explore that same idea of an episodic performance and what you hide and what you show, and then what gets revealed at the end. And I do feel there is an element of a story in it. Obviously, it's subtle and it's abstract, but the ending is something that we're especially happy about. And Deepesh and I had a very long discussion to get towards an ending, so that there would be some clarity that if someone has watched all the way from the beginning to the end, it's clear that we were going somewhere, which is what you always want in something episodic. You want to make sure that the end actually feels like an ending and it feels like there was something planned. The thing that has always bothered me the most is like shows like Lost or whatever, where it seems like the ending was totally made up at the last minute and they had no idea what they were doing when they started. So I'd like to hand over to Deepesh now to talk a bit more about the episodic nature and the ending and some of those aspects that everybody has brought up.
Yeah, thanks. First of all, I'm like very happy with like the reception. Everyone seems to love the video, so that makes my increases my confidence in my job. Anyway, talking about like the episodic nature. Tejas and I always wanted to do like a proper web series, and this is like our first web series, so we're pretty happy. And we knew we had to use that. We knew we had to use the time. That's why we wanted to like just like what John said. We visually and information wise we wanted to overload the videos because people have the time to like unpack it. If it was like Netflix where all the videos come out at the same time, then I would believe this would be like a bit too much. I think people would like overdose on the on the visuals. So we had to use the time, and we didn't want to have any straightforward visuals. We wanted to make something more abstract and something people can break down. So that was one of those decisions were informed by the fact that it is episodic. Then the ending, Tejas and I have our own, just like a show, we create an arc. So for Tejas and I, the first film is its own thing. The arc begins from the second video with Dennis's video, and the arc ends in this film. So if you realize something, if you realize, wait a minute, why have the visuals changed like this, or why is the sync changed like this? It's all intentional. We want to create an arc, and the arc ends at the end of this video. And another thing I would like to say is how John said, worlds inside of worlds. So right now I'm in NUS, and I'm doing this philosophy module, and one of the arguments was the simulation argument. So I was like, whoa, so maybe I could replicate that visually. So all those shots where it seems like you're gonna go closer, but in the end it's just infinitely going away. That's like my interpretation of like the simulation argument, because that argument, I learned that argument in the middle of doing all this, and I had like an existential crisis, and I had to put that in the video. I wouldn't be able to satisfy my creative needs. So yeah, so that I'm happy you saw that. And also like we wanted to like this final video is more representation of the first video was more like real life things we see. We wanted to move away from that. We wanted to look at the inner self. So that was our goal, and we are happy that people can see that. And the ending during that conversation, I think the conversation was like 2 to 3 hours long. And then that's when we thought of the ending. If we didn't have that conversation, the ending would not come up. So I'm very happy that we spent the time to like unpack and create the whole arc. Yeah, thank you.
Teachers and Deepesh, I'm curious. Have there been moments, because where you created you wanted to create a particular visual for the first full length of the soundtrack, and you thought, no, 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 this one we are going to keep for the end, the last one tonight. Or when you made the first one, you had no idea yet, because you also had to do this whole journey. When you made the first episode, you had no idea what you would do tonight. Or there was already somewhere, I don't know, a plan or not.
Tejas, do you want to answer?
Yeah. Well, we can both answer. I mean, I will say it's always a bit of both, but I would want everybody to always have some element of a journey at the same time. There's definitely some, because obviously effects are a part of this. A big part of this are effects and specific techniques that you can use as an editor. And definitely some of them, we discovered them much earlier, but we saved them for later. And there was, because we've heard the whole piece of music, and then we understand, because we understand the point of this exercise and the way of doing it and the way of releasing it, there's always been some element of a plan. So I would say, anytime you're creating any kind of story, you should always have an idea of the end in mind, but you should always be willing to adapt at the same time. And I would say that's the way it happened, because with the time pressure involved, we didn't have the luxury of being able to do hundreds of different versions of everything and then comparing them. But we always had this idea in mind of where it's going and the kind of ending, being able to come up with that ending, which made it clear in a way that we were both happy with, was obviously something we're even more proud of, but there was always an idea behind it. Deepesh?
So from like a visual standpoint, the first video, we sort of like, this is like the second time we've done something like this. The first time we did something very abstract and visual was something for Sabrina. So we knew what effects to use. We knew what people would like and people would enjoy. We knew how to make it look good. And then, so the first video, I would say we almost went all out. But then with every, so if whoever has the keen eyes with the last film, if you watch it properly, there's effects that have been used in every other of the other interpolations. So the split screen, for example, was in Dennis's video, and I didn't use it again except for this video. So what happens is, as we did every single individual musician's videos, we realized, wait a minute, this effect or this thing can go even further. And then we'll be like, okay, maybe it can go to 100%. We just show the 80%, 90% in this video, and we'll save the last 10% for the final film. So there's almost like a sense of discovery that happens with every video, where we're like, oh, this can go further. Let's do this in the end. So in the end, you're seeing like the final discovery, like everything. I mean, hopefully I can do even more greater effects, but as of now, the last film is like 100% of what we've discovered through these 3 months as we worked on this project.
Yeah, you might need a new computer if you're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about that, there are some effects in this film that I had to trust, because my software said I couldn't play it back for you. So I had to render the film, wait for like 3 hours, and I had to make sure that the effect actually looked good. Because if it didn't, I just wasted 3 hours, which is very valuable with our schedule. So, yeah.
I'm amazed how I've read this somewhere. A whole group of people listening to the same piece of music, actually nobody really hears the same thing, hears the music in the same way. And it has nothing to do with how much music education you have. It's your whole persona. How here, Sabrina had, on the same soundtrack, Sabrina had a tonal response. Bertram had a blues response. Roberto was modal. Kylin started atonal and went towards tonality. And all this is on the same material that I'm giving you. It's just, I mean, I sort of know this intellectually, but tonight it really strikes me, and it makes me think. And thank you. Anybody else just barge in, offer?
Well, I just want to say, don't think I didn't notice that Jim Jarmusch black silence moment in there again.
Well, Robert loves that. Well, we all love it. We all love it. So it has to be there now. It's one of the signatures, I feel.
Okay.
Back to what Lance was saying, the question stays open for me, and it's working in here since we knew that it was finished much before tonight. How do we move on from here, and how do we make a coherent next step? Is it ever possible to have a similar experience with live? Because if purely live performance would bring us back to performing before COVID. But I think, and this has been said in another chat recently, and don't take me wrong, I don't like the virus, I don't like the pandemics, and I hate that I am completely separated from my daughters who are in Europe and my old parents in the south of Italy, and I hate the situation where we are stuck since too many months. But somehow, for us artists and creative people, it has been a sort of hidden blessing in a way that has pushed us to find another way. And if we go back to this type of experience, to theater or performing live the way before COVID, maybe we have missed something. So I think we should make treasure of this experience, and we should try to give a coherent and organic next step, or bring it a little bit further, even when, because it will arrive, theaters will be open on a regular basis, and we will have bigger seats capacity than now, etc., and sort of back to normal. I'm very skeptical about this back to normal. Personally, for me, that's been this year has been a turning point, and this project has contributed for me to the turning as a person and as a creative person. So I don't know. I always throw it there. What's next? How do we go from here?
I'd like to ask, and it's not a rhetorical question, I do not have the answer. Do you think that we could project on a screen what you have seen tonight, and at the same time you are performing live? Or that's just nonsense that it is becoming too much? Project what we saw tonight in a space where there is audience, and you are there live and you perform in response on top together with, I don't know, I don't have the answer, I don't know.
Well, I was just saying that I love all the instruments, all of you, but I have maybe a little weak point for the flute.
Don't say that, he's already so idle and vain, and he's going to.
It's okay, must be the Mediterranean flair, I don't know. So yes, if we were to, I answer without thinking, because you asked right now, and we don't have the time to really go through rationally, but if I had to perform live while the movie is playing and while I hear Roberto in contribution, maybe I would respond particularly to that one or to another one, instead of responding or let my performance grow on based on what has been filmed of my performance. I would try to open the artistic dialogue with any other of my colleagues and see what happens there. How do I react on another sequence of music where somebody else has already created on top of the mini file?
But without going to specifics, who would respond to whom, to where, just basically, would it be too much, just too much?
You don't know until you try.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it'd be really cool. And even the visuals, like there are ways where even the visuals can respond to the music, because so then we have this like beautiful feedback loop, and the performance will become unique. It will never exist again, if that makes sense. And I'm very attracted to stuff that can't be replicated anymore, if that makes sense, like the experience of it. So I think if we do a performance where the bass track is playing and artists are reacting to the bass track, and then Tejas and we are reacting to what the artists are doing, will be like really, really cool and unique. Yeah.
I have an experience 20 years ago in the Opera House in Brussels of an opera. I'm just a conductor, and there is a second ensemble, and there is video, and so the second orchestra is in another room brought by video in, and then there is video film, and then you have the singers and you have the choir, and at one point the senses of the audience is always bombarded from everywhere, and at one point your brain is like blocking and just thinking it's too much. Composers, John Peter Maxwell Davis told me, is always too much or too little, and to find the right length, the right this, the right ingredients. So, well.
Can I comment on that?
Please.
The great challenge for all of us as artists is to say the most with the least means, the economy of means, and yet to say the most. To say, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but I think a tone should be worth 1,000,000 words. And so how do we do that? I can imagine an expansion of this in terms of technology and the use of virtual reality and holographic technology to simulate hallucinogenic experiences in performance, so that these visuals are actually three-dimensional and live in the same space that we are in, even if we are avatars in some virtual reality experience. And that music may also travel. Imagine a holographic image that is moving around us, and that sound source is also moving in such a way. And then imagine that you have a symphony of these sounds that are moving, where sounds and colors are really the same, and have geographical placement. And
I'll just, the one thing I will say to answer that question, Robert, is we won't know until we try. We have to try something. If later, the one thing I would say is I always prefer later if people say it was too much rather than too little. Of course, like what John said, if we can get it just right, even better. But I still prefer to be told it was a bit much rather than it was so boring that I was falling asleep. So, and at least with that, I don't think we need to worry we're going to be on the too little side. It's just about how we moderate the too much so that everybody can enjoy it.
Thank you.
I think for the musicians to try to play this live, I mean, I think all the musicians will agree on this. We find, or at least I find, very nice to record. That's a great experience, but we like to perform. And I think it's a totally different experience. So I think from my point of view, the natural evolution of this piece is to end up in a concert. In a performance, and I think it can work. I mean, it would be a different, for sure, a different thing. It wouldn't be. I think a big mistake would be to try to emulate what we have done already. But as this piece was evolving from Robert's composition to something different, and it would be a good idea to continue the evolution and not stop with this. And I agree with John, to reach more people is always what we should like to do, right?
Okay.
So maybe see you in 2021.
Yes.
We're so optimistic. Very good.
Before I get tired.
You all stay healthy, happy. We keep in touch. Thank you for this
Thank you all for this wonderful
Thank you
experience.
for the National Arts Council.
Maybe you can help us share the link to the
Oh, yeah.
videos with your friends or colleagues or students or your enemies. I don't know. Depends on what you want to achieve. But you can help us truly if you spread the word, and for sure share the link. And then as cheesy as it can sound, Merry Christmas, because in 1 month we are there.
Thank you, Verena. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Deepish. Thank you, Roberto. Thank you, John. Thank you, Kailin. Thank you, Lon. Thank you, Bertram. And thank you, Tejas.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. See you soon.